Cicero summed up the principle in this way: to philosophize is to learn how to die. Do you agree with that, or?
Well, I told you that what I think is the other way around. It's because we are aware of death that we philosophize. Because once you are aware that you are going to die, you immediately have a problem of the negation of death, which is immortality. And the next question which immediately emerges is the question, is there any bridge linking mortal life with immortality? And I think that the whole idea of culture, the whole activity of culture is to find the way of living with the knowledge of mortality. That is the big question. I think the culture is supplying all sorts of solutions to this admittedly insoluble problem. And I tried to construct a list of ways in which it's being done. I think still that the best solution ever found in history was the Christian solution, namely that immortality is something not only not unavailable, but on the contrary, it is something obligatory. You can't stop being immortal. I mean, you can't stop your soul, your spirit to be immortal. And therefore, the only choice which is left to you is the choice between a endurable and pleasant immortality on the one hand, and the awful immortality on the other. It is between heaven and hell, as we call it. The important point, however, is that far from degrading the role of the bodily, fleshy, earthly, mortal life, on the contrary, the Christian solution elevates the earthly life to tremendous importance, because it is the only period, very short period, in which you can actually influence your immortality. You can earn life in heaven, immortal life in heaven, or you can earn perpetual existence in hell. Therefore, that's the only chance, because once you died, the soul cannot reverse the verdict. Whatever could be done has been already done, and there is no the court of appellation to which you can appeal and try to change the verdict, or the way in which you can compensate for what you have done during life. So that was the I think the most fortunate, the most felicitous, the most reasonable solution to this haunting problem. What is the sense of life? The problem which Blaise Pascal was concerned with,
Yeah.
That it is senseless, that there is no justification why I'm here, it's pure accident, and there's a sort of absurdity built into it, the theme which continued over the centuries. In Albert Camus, as you know, there's also it surfaced again the issue of essential, irreparable absurdity of our life, and the desperate attempt to squeeze a meaning into it. Now, the meaning which was squeezed into it by the Christian belief of immortality of soul is precisely the solution, if you believe that. Well, there's plenty of sense in your life, because you have to work day by day very hard to deserve the eternal happiness and avoid the eternal torment, eternal torture. All other solutions are half successful. The secular solution, after the period of so-called secularization, I don't like this term because I don't believe that secularization actually happened, but after the modern decision to take the world under human management and put in the center of attention what can be done here on earth by human beings, and so on and so on. The question of linking mortality and immortality has been, however, unaffected by this decision, and it's still haunted, and it still haunts people today, one way or the other. The basic change in comparison with the inherited Christian solution was the idea that not everybody is condemned, is doomed or blessed with the inevitability of immortal life. Immortality is something we have to earn. We have to earn, and there are two basic essential ways of earning it. One is, I use metaphor of public and private transportation in this case. Private means that you have your own car and you direct it, you control, you are sitting at the steering wheel and you control its movements. And when you achieve importance, one way or the other, importance in terms of the appreciation of your contemporaries. By their criteria you are important. Then you earn the place in immortality. And a personal place, mind you. Your name becomes also immortal. First of all, this kind of immortality was earned by people on very high social position, like kings, generals, marshals, great legislators, great inventors. These people were, because of what they contributed to the next generation's life, they were immortally remembered. That's immortality in the public memory, through public memory. But later, other people joined the ranks, joined the kings and generals in this pantheon of immortal beings. People like poets, painters, big architects, big scientists, great scientists, recently also celebrities, footballers, the beautiful models, serial killers, and things like that. All these people, there are many ways, many additional roads through which you can drive your car, private car, to immortality. And there is public transport for those who don't have private cars. And public transports are the memorials for the unknown soldier. That's very typical, really. Your name is unknown. There's a point made. You are not personally remembered, but you have contributed to a cause which is very important to your posterior, to next generations to come. For example, you liberated a nation from foreign occupation, or you promoted an idea, created, say, the foundations of democracy, like the writers of people who actually fought against the British occupation of America, won the independence and won also the essentials of the modern idea of democracy. Many people were killed in the process. We will never know their names, but nevertheless they deserve our collective gratitude, in a sense, for what they were doing. So you can dedicate your life to defense of your homeland, or you can dedicate your life to the victory of, say, a communist or a Nazi idea, and you are assured this impersonal, anonymous, but nevertheless immortality. So you have public transport and you have private transport. This was I would say, the solid modern solutions, because the liquid water solution is even more clever than that. It simply tries to deconstruct immortality. You can have immortality on demand. You can have immortality now, immortality in an unprecedented, unthinkable, deep experience which you go through. If you read carefully about that on Google or the internet, you will see that quite a number of travel agencies or dating agencies, whatever, cosmetic agencies, and others promise you the immortal experience. So you can actually experience immortality during your life.
In which way? This immortal experience?
Not waiting for death. Death has nothing to do with it. Death is just the last experience, the last immortal experience. But you are deconstructing and, in a sense, disenchanting the idea of immortality, because you have experienced it already by going to Seychelles, for example, for a holiday. Or using a drug which no one else experienced before, and you are so happy and so careless, and you don't care about anything, and so on. This sort of experiences. And the other clever invention is that the death was deconstructed, because you can in a sort of a substitute, you can experience death a number of times in your life. Well, that's connected with something I also wrote about, namely the new fragility of human bonds. Jacques Derrida wrote very touchingly about the fact that when a man dies, one world dies with him. Because each man carries his own or her own world inside, and when he disappears, this world cannot be recovered. It just vanished once and for all. It's final. Just like death is final, so the death of this world which he carried with him or with her is lost. But Vladimir Jankelevich, the French philosopher, pointed out that well, you will never experience your own death. As far as the death of them is concerned, it's pure statistics for you. When you read in the papers that there was an earthquake and 2,000 people died, well, it's statistics. It is not an experience of death. It is just knowledge that reconfirmation of the knowledge that people are mortal. But there is a third kind of death, death of someone who was part of our life, a partner, a member of the family, a dear friend with which I shared my life. Now, that is something which I really experience, not directly, indirectly, mind you, but nevertheless, with the same sort of finality, with the real experience of death would be like if it was possible, but it's not impossible. It's not possible. You can't even imagine your own death, because when you are imagining your own death, you are always sitting there in this camera, like here, and so you are present there. But the whole problem about death is that you won't be present any longer in the world. The world will do without you, and you won't be witnessing what is happening there. Now, when somebody very close to you, part of your life dies, Jean Kelevich would say, then really you experience something like that, something like that. In liquid modernity, this experience of which Jean Kelevich wrote is widespread, because people even who do not die on you physically, very often die on you socially, psychologically. The frailty of human bonds, I come to this again and again and again. The breaking of human bonds, breaking of partnerships, breaking of marriages, breaking of networks to which you belong on Facebook today, but tomorrow you are no longer there. Now, breaking all that is rehearsal, dress rehearsal of the actual death of somebody close to you. So it is an experience which is now universally available, which was not universally available when the bonds, human bonds, were very strong. You couldn't get rid of them. They were with you. If we were born in a particular group, it was with you till you died. You didn't move around. You didn't change places. You were born in the same village. You died in the same village. So this sort of experience was inaccessible. Now it is universally accessible. So if you trace the cultural changes, the changes in cultural recommendations, cultural proposals, cultural norms, cultural images and so on, you will see that they are all circling, in last account, around the issue of connection between mortality, between life and death, before death and after death and so on. It changes over time. And I think that history of culture could be written from many different points of view, but this point of view, this perspective, is quite a good way, a reasonable way to organize the history of culture around.
Okay.
Hey, already ancient sophists were of this opinion, that they said, what do you worry about? If the death come, you won't be here. And if it doesn't come, well, if you are here, then death is not here, so you will never meet actually. There's no point in worrying about it. But this is also meditating, and the crux of the matter, the really clever thing, is to make you so busy that you have no time to think about death. No, to eliminate all the philosophizing about death from your life. It is simply irrelevant to you because you have so many things to do, like you are now taking notes, for example. You can't think about death really. And then you have to transcribe it, and then you have to, to put it in the printable form, and it will take so much of your time, so much worry, that there will be no time of thinking about it. And culture provides enormous amount of ways in which you can actually do it. Think about something else than death. Uh, Eliminate it from your thinking. The as you rightly mentioned before, the death is the idea of being mortal is offensive because the modern mentality indoctrinated us with the idea that to every problem there is a solution, and here is one problem to which there is no solution. Oh, not completely, mind you. Read Possibility of the Island, written by Michel Houellebecq, and you will see that there is a prospect. You can be cloned. Cloned is, so to speak, immortality in effigy. You are immortal because not only you are bodily immortal, but also your memory and everything you learn from the previous clone, from which you have been cloned, recloned, so to speak, is transferred with you. So it's continuity. Possibility of an Island starts with Daniel the First and ends with Daniel 25th. 25 generations of immortality. Perhaps it is a possibility, perhaps it is not. I personally don't believe that it's a real possibility, but nevertheless, for most of us, most of the people who, even if clothing was available, wouldn't be able to afford it because it would be exorbitantly expensive operation. People don't believe that death is final, that it is irreversible and it is unavoidable. That's the one problem for which there is no solution. One of the culturally produced stratagems of dealing with this realization is to divide the problem of dying into infinite number of little problems of keeping fit, keeping healthy, fighting one disease, fighting another disease, and that already gives you so much challenge that you can hardly think about death as such. And even you can naively, subconsciously suppose that if there is 1,000 causes of death, and if you eliminate one and then another, there will be only 999, 998, and if you go on and on, then finally you dispose completely of the problem.
That's what you call the deconstruction. That's what you call the deconstruction of mortality.
Deconstruction of, yeah. So I think deconstruction of death, that's one thing, and deconstruction of immortality by giving you the chance of having the experience of immortal bliss over and over and over again. Each time you go for the annual holiday, you have a taste of immortality. It's all very clever, and it works. It works. The proof that it works is that we are already in 21st century. So we lived with the knowledge of mortality now for 500 million years already, and still we are alive. And the culture, however, is itself unstoppably creative in offering ever new ways of doing just that, of enduring the idea of mortality, enjoying life with the idea of mortality in your head, of mortality in your head. Very few people today speak about absurdity of life. Life is very busy. In liquid modernity, it is busier than ever before. Why? Because before that, getting your identity, getting your place in the world was a one-off task. You just you got the right kind of skills, you learned the right kind of behavior, you collected the right kind of money, and it's over, right? You have it off your head. You are who you are, and then you face the question of mortality, and so on. But now we don't have identities. We are in a constant process of identification and re-identification. So it is whole life job which never finishes, never finishes. The challenge to identity today is the paradox of needing to have an identity, but at the same time needing to become at will somebody else than you are. So having identity and having it so frail and so brittle that you have attend to keeping it or changing it over and over again. It's also in a sense a rehearsal of the idea of immortality, because during your lifetime you change yourself many times. You move from one surroundings to another, from one milieu to another, from one profession to another, from one partnership, one family to another, and so on, so on. So you reinvent yourself constantly. And it is very easy to overlook that there will be one point where the reinventing will have to stop, because there will be no further chance of doing it. In short, to put it in a nutshell, deconstruction of mortality and immortality amount to the same effect if they are successful, namely they take the worry out of your head. Simply chase it away, because they confront you with so many urgent, imperative tasks that simply there's little energy left to think about nebulous things like immortality. I think that every cultural solution has its advantages and its disadvantages. There are always new chances open and new threats appearing. One of the way in which this successful work of culture on eliminating the fear of death from our mind, or rather covering up the fear of death, has also a very unprepossessing and rather dangerous consequences. The other aspect of liquid modernity, as you know, is that we are not any longer inclined to think in long terms. We are moving from one episode to another, and we wish that each episode has the beginning and an end, and has no consequences. The big danger which is in our contemporary liquid modern culture is that we are oblivious to consequences. And it has well, not only circumscribed consequences like our relationship to the other, which is based in the very widespread pattern of so-called pure relationships. Relationships make sense in as far as I derive gratification from it, but that is very selfish approach, as you know, because there is a partner from whom I derive this gratification, but I am not quite sure, and I don't care very much about that, whether what is the other side feeling, and the other side reception of this relationship. When I stop deriving gratification, I see no reason why I should continue in pure relationship. I break it down, but perhaps the other person is not of the same opinion. Perhaps the other person wants to continue what we developed between us. So that is what contributes to what I mentioned before as the frailty of human bonds. But there are worse consequences of this cultural change, yes, of this collapse of our concern with eternal values, so to speak. Something which Hans Jonas described, namely that we have achieved the level of scientific and technological development which allows us to determine in advance the life situation of generations which haven't been yet born even. We already put constraints on their range of choices because we consume resources of the earth, because we create fait accompli, which they will have to take as reality of the world and would be able to do very little about, and so on. And we don't really take that into account. A very conspicuous example of that, and the worst consequence of this current cultural solution to the problem of immortality is making immortality of human race, of human species, less and less probable. That's a paradox.
Yeah.
But, the consumerist orgy, as I call it. We spent money for several recent dozens of years. We were spending money which we didn't earn. Then the credit collapse, as you know, and some sort of sobering up happened, but very little of it. We are continuing the same game. Nothing particularly changed. Consumerist orgy means, in practice, that your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren will have to be still repaying the debts which you made. The deficits in every state budget. Take Italy, take Spain, take Greece, take Ireland, take Iceland, but no less, I would say, in France or in the United States of America or Great Britain. It is just a matter of degree, but we are all above our ears in debt. And if we hear these calls for austerity, and the policy of austerity, cutting down public expenses, taking away the invalid payments and things like that, and creating a mass of unemployment, which we can't actually manage, which we can't. These are all the consequences of our stopping thinking about the future. We made these debts, but somebody else will be paying them, not us. Our life is not long enough to repay them. We already indebted our great-grandchildren much beyond our capacity of the payment. So that's the problem. That's the other aspect of the same fortunate cultural solution of forgetting about immortality.
Yeah.
So you can't have it both ways. You can't, as the English proverb says, you can't have a cake and
And eat it too.
Yeah. Either or one or
Yes.
the other.
Okay. Um, Going again about focusing on present, as Montaigne says, but I mean, this doesn't border with your critique with because the same message is coming from companies. Life is now, as a commercial used to say, a commercial by Vodafone. I mean, they tend to stress the present moment. I mean, all manufacturers want you to not to think about tomorrow, but think about today. I mean, in one way, is a philosophical way to put it. I mean, focus on the present time, enjoy it. Also, Montaigne used to say that. But then this equals to the request from companies. How do these messages coexist?
Oh, look, but you speak about Montaigne, but Montaigne was one in a very long line of Stoical philosophers. It's one kind of philosophy. It was always elitist philosophy. It couldn't be otherwise. It is not good for ordinary people, really. If you happen to be a philosopher, good luck. It's your gain, right? I wish you all the luck imaginable. But it is not something which can resolve for humanity as a whole this issue of mortality. It's, if you really find tremendous pleasure in philosophizing, oh, I like philosophizing, and for me, for myself, it is quite a good way of forgetting about such trifles like the fact that I am already even 87, and therefore I am likely to die very quickly, very soon. But you know, I can take Seneca to read, I can take Montaigne to read, and I find there consolation, joy, and during my reading, I forget about such trifle problems. But it's not solution for everybody, really. And therefore, as a sociologist, I'm not a philosopher, I'm a sociologist. I enjoy philosophy, but I'm a sociologist, and I'm concerned with diagnosis of the so-called real life of real people, and that therefore I write when I'm considering the chances, the possibilities, the possible ways of dealing with the issue of mortality or immortality. I am not speaking about philosophers of Stoics, because that's only for very few chosen people. But I'm speaking about deconstruction of death, deconstruction of immortality, public and private transports to eternity and things like that. Because this, in my view, is how culture supports the possibility of life of human species, not just the selected group of philosophers, but human species in general.
I see. Getting even more personal, since you touched this, I mean, in your daily life, what are the tricks you are applying to cheat the idea of death, of mortality? You've
Myself?
already quoted it. I mean, reading, but
Uh,
what is the spring? I mean, because this is a general question.
I think I am like most ordinary people, really. I am too busy to be worried. You know, I keep myself busy. Uh, I think that the dramatic moment comes when you wake up and have nothing to do, and you are just thinking, how would I feel another day, another 24 hours? How to live through it? Now, it never happened to me, mind you. It's always the other way around. I'm waking up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and worrying that so many things should be done today. I have so many unfulfilled obligations and, kept on the side burner tasks and things like that. So I can't really give you a good answer to your question. I think everybody has uh, his or her own way of experiencing and dealing with what has been experienced. That's how it is. That's because I am just investigating, among other things, also the way in which ordinary people deal with the question of mortality and immortality. I don't have time to deal myself with this question.
What the future practically mean for you now at age 87? As you said, I mean, it means your sons, grandsons, or the next book you have to write. I mean, when you think about the future, you think about what?
uh, I belong to people who are very cautious about thinking about the future. On every occasion, when I'm asked about the future, I'm answering, uh, look, I spent my life doing sociology, but I never learned the skills of prophesizing. And sociology has very little to offer in this respect. Sociologists, as you know, can very well describe what's going on. They can explain everything, providing this everything already happened. But it doesn't mean that they can predict the future. I don't have any skills, any prophet skills, really. Uh, and I normally quote in this connection my late friend, great friend, Leszek Kołakowski, I wonder whether you know his name, who said that predicting the future, futurology, so-called, is the greatest lie of intellectual life. Because, why this lie? Because future, by definition, does not exist. When future start existing, it is no longer a future, it is already a present. So future as such does not exist. And therefore, having a science of future is a lie, because you can't have a science of nothing, of something which doesn't exist. It's the same way as having a biology of unicorn. Unicorn doesn't exist. So biology, of course, is a pure invention. Biology of unicorn. And that's true. Actually, future is something which we create by being created by it. If you want really to predict the future, you would be able to do so on condition there were no humans around. Because humans are organically, endemically, irrevocably, incurably unpredictable. Even in Auschwitz, even in Kolyma, people were not deprived of their freedom of choice. However hard their oppressors tried to do it, they couldn't do it. They had always an option. They could, for example, commit suicide if they decided, right? So we are doomed to choosing. And because we are doomed to choosing, therefore, in every prediction of the future, you have one big variable which is unknown, namely what people will be doing. Well, we try to compensate for it for this by developing statistics. There are public opinion research, what people are thinking, right? What are their tendencies? What do they say that they prefer to do? What their attitude to reality is? All right, but every majority started from being a tiny minority. And, you know, uh, statistics suggest otherwise. Statistics suggest that you should extrapolate what the current majority is inclined to do. But it's precisely the wrong way of doing it, because today's majority may be tomorrow's minority. Look what's happening now in all sorts of elections to parliament. They keep surprising us because very profound change is happening in front of our eyes. Uh,
Yeah, but in fact, I didn't want you to prophesize about someone else's future or the future in general. Uh, I would rephrase my question like this: what is for you now? I mean, so let's not say the future, but your present to trick mortality. But you've already replied to that. I mean, when you think about, I mean, the projection of your future is. In your daughter, in your great sons, or the future for you is the book you write. I mean, your legacy in a way, apart from all of your books. I mean,
well, you see, my daughters are very important to me, but I have the impression that however I could influence their life, I've already done, knowingly or unknowingly, simply by them being born as my daughters and I being in charge of their upbringing, in a sense. So I install, willingly or unwillingly, knowingly or unknowingly, I already installed certain character in them. In the book Art of Life, I suggested that there are two elements which shape human life. One is fate. Fate is a short name for everything on which we have no influence. Fate is something which happens to us, not our fault and not our achievement. It just happened. I was born in Poznan and not in New York, for example. It's part of my fate. I could do nothing about it. There was the Second World War. I was twice forced to run away, you know. Fate. I couldn't influence. I couldn't change. These are fates. Or I met my wife with whom I spent 62 years. I could go on that evening different street and I would meet her ever. You know. Accidents, fate, contingencies. But the other thing is human character, the other factor. And the relationship between them is like that. The fate creates the range of options, but the character makes choices between these options. On the range of options, you have no influence, but it is only your responsibility what choice have you made from these options, right? So I think I had some influence on, knowingly or unknowingly, I repeat once again, it's not the question of principles which I spoke about and tried to insinuate into their minds. It was just the environment, the situation, the family, the invisible symptoms, signs of love, hatred, being truthful, being untruthful, this sort of thing, which created their character. But their character is already created. So no tasks are remaining in this respect. They are just part of my present. I have no impact on what's happening later. So when I speak about future, I think uh, with age, the size of future is shrinking. For me, the future is what, well, that Riccardo Stagliano is coming, and I have to respond to his questions. And in the afternoon, Korean people are coming and will be filming some other questions and answers. This is future. And I have a plan for May, for June, where I go to lecture, who is coming to visit me, this sort of thing. I don't go beyond that, really. When I was younger, I used to plan in terms of several years ahead, starting education, a degree and finishing degree, writing PhD, writing habilitation, this sort of thing, writing one book, writing another. It was a long-term project for several years. I don't have it as long. It would be stupid of me to have them. I don't have much time left.
But what we can say is that you are incredibly productive even now. I mean, can we say that also this is a way to cheat mortality? Because
Very simple answer. I don't have any other skills, really, apart from being busy, thinking, reading, writing, talking. I haven't learned anything else, really. I'm not an inventor in informatics. I'm not, I don't have any craftsman skills. So that's it. The range of options when you are 87 is very small. Horizons are much wider when you are younger, but it shrinks. I don't complain about it. I enjoy the kind of life which I have at the moment.
I will try to pose a very personal question to you. Decide how and if and how to reply. Since you quoted before that there are some loss that you experience. I mean, we do not experience that by definition, but we tend to experience by proxy in a way. You have lost your wife, with whom you spent a lot of time together. How do you survive to a loss like that?
No, it's a very private experience. I don't want to share it, really. I don't know. I can't answer that. I don't like to speak about private affairs, really. I know that we are living in a confessional society, but I don't feel well in this sort of society. I can't answer your question well. She's still with me. Uh, her ashes are in my study upstairs. So, she's the first image which I see on computer when I open it at 5 o'clock in the morning. So I managed to live with her still. That's it. We converse. Not because I am crazy, but because that's the way in which we lived together, that it will never end, probably.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah. the very end, the idea of death is a sociological theme or only a personal and religious one?
Very sociological.
The idea of death. How much, in which percentage is a sociological theme, a personal theme, and a religious theme?
I am not interested so much in the question of death. I am interested in the presence of death in life. That's my real topic. I want to know what sort of impact has the knowledge of death on our life. I am not expert of speaking about what's happening after death. I don't know. And I don't believe people who say that they do know. But what I can empirically find out is precisely the presence of death in life. And that's a fascinating problem, and beyond that I wouldn't be able to go. Of course there are many aspects of it, and it has theological meaning, it has philosophical meaning. It supports, in a sense, it supports all what we in humanities are doing. It supports the presence of writers and poets, it supports the presence of philosophers, it supports the presence of sociologists, it supports the presence of cultural creators of all sorts, creators of art. If not for that, death present in life, they wouldn't exist. They would have nothing to do. In ultimate account, what they are doing is precisely the product of the death present in life. So that's how it is.
In the art of life, you talk about life as a piece of art, okay?
Yes.
And as a piece of art, and you write,
yes.
We have to try the impossible. We have to dare the impossible. I don't know if you are aware, probably you are, but Steve Jobs, okay, the founder of the Apple,
yes.
in a very well known now speech at the Stanford University, say don't settle to these young kids, never settle. From one side is a very smart advice to give, but then you risk to never be satisfied if you never settle. Where would you put the border in order to have a happy life, a fulfilling life? Where would you put the border between settling and being satisfied of what you have?
I don't have any recipes, I don't have any recommendations. I tried in my long life to invent the models of perfect societies. They didn't work very well, so I am very cautious. I think that what I can do is actually to show to my readers, and I have very many readers very young. It's amazing, but I actually am very pleased with that because it shows that I haven't lost touch, haven't lost contact with people who were born much later than I did. What I could do, I try to show them the world in which they live. So things which they might have overlooked. Busy as they are in doing their daily jobs, they might have overlooked the hidden springs, conditions, constraints, and so on, which are there. But as I said before, the world outside is a fate. Now, the life is a product of fate plus your responsibilities and choices. And this other thing, or responsibilities and choices, is left to them. Steve Jobs' book recommends something else, but not everybody can be Steve Jobs. Not everybody can be Mark Zuckerberg, who invented Facebook. Well, it's not something I would write down and as a scientific finding, but my impression is that for every human being there is a word which was made especially for him or for her, perfectly fitting his character, his expectations and so on. And the only trouble is that most people, most of us, look for this word in the wrong place. That is a tragedy. If you say that no human individual life is perfectly happy, it is precisely because this world is still waiting, but the person is looking elsewhere. I very much appreciate what Wolfgang Goethe, the great German poet, answered when he was almost my age, not exactly, he was younger a little bit, but not much younger than I am now. He was also asked whether he had happy life, and his answer was, "I had very, very happy life. But," he added, "I don't remember a single happy week." And much of the misunderstandings about happiness comes from the fact that people think that happiness is a constant condition, perpetual condition. Happiness, no. Happiness means the moment of overcoming the difficulty. Unless there are difficulties and challenges and something beyond your power, something which really puts you, stretches you, you won't experience any happiness. There's no such thing as condition of happiness. Happiness is getting rid of unhappiness.
Getting
Rid
Yeah.
of unhappiness. That's the happiness. Unless you have challenges, very difficult ones, you will be never happy. And that's the big misunderstanding of our contemporary culture, the consumerist culture, that for every problem there is a good solution. Only find the right shop, buy the right product, and you will be perpetually happy. It's the biggest lie you can imagine.
and you're perfectly aware that also everywhere, but in Italy especially, in the last few weeks and months, I would say, because of the economic crisis, there has been a, a huge number of suicides. Okay, suicides. People who committed suicides because of they didn't manage to pay taxes, stuff like
It's
that.
not just the suicide, it is that depression becomes the most common disease at the moment. Depression, psychological depression. Very, very common, and there is every reason for it to be so. It's nothing to be amazed of. The, what we are haunted by is the state of uncertainty, constant uncertainty. Even the things which seems to us very well founded, very strong, very firm, very persisting, reliable, because of that predictable, proved to be, non-existing. People were buying houses for their family to be. Then suddenly houses disappeared because they couldn't pay the mortgage and things like that. The safe jobs which they thought they will enjoy till they retired suddenly disappeared. Companies which seems to be cut in stone, in rock, untouchable, were swallowed by bigger companies and made their workers redundant. So everything is trembling. We are living in uncertainty, and I would say even that uncertainty today is our only certainty. We have no other certainties apart from the fact that we will stay uncertain for the rest of our time. And if you take uncertainty and start to analyze it, what it consists of, you will see that uncertainty consists of two things, above all. One is the feeling of ignorance, the other is feeling of impotence. Ignorance means I can't predict the future, I don't know what's going to happen, I am just buffeted by tides, by waves, I have to swim as long as I can on the surface, right? And impotence is very closely connected to ignorance. Impotence, that means that even if I knew exactly what's going to happen, I would be still unable to prevent it. That's feeling of impotence. Now, if you add together ignorance and impotence, what you get? You get the personal humiliation. Humiliation. Because if you are ignorant, if you are impotent, that means that you are inadequate. Something is wrong with you. Other people, you mentioned Steve Jobs, well, there are some of them. There are wonderful footballers who earn millions, you know. There are models, there are celebrities of all sorts. Well, they succeeded, and I didn't. Probably they were not ignorant and impotent, which is not true. They were, but it so happened, you know, that their life was differently organized by cooperation between fate and character. But I am humiliated. There must be something wrong with me. I am too lazy, or I am too stupid, or well, whatever it may be. It always comes back to me, to my own misdemeanor, to my own vices, to my own shortcomings. And that's what makes people depressed. That's, I think, the major reason of depression. The sediment of ignorance and impotence feeling, which derives from the perpetual condition of uncertainty. That's as close as I can come. That's my diagnosis, really. I am not a medical expert, I am not a psychiatrist, but I am a sociologist. Sociologically, that is the explanation.
Um, Again, in the art of life, at a certain point, you quote Heidegger when he suggests that we realize about things, we become aware of things only when something goes wrong. When something goes wrong, I mean, when things go.
It is Heidegger, not me.
Yes. In fact, you were quoting Heidegger.
Yeah.
But I ask you, why is it so? Why? I mean, also in our life, we only realize that we miss people when we lose them, or we would want more time for us when we are too. I mean,
I think it stands to reason. Look, familiarity results in invisibility. When things are always in their own place, you know it from your own practice, I'm quite sure. You want to shave in the morning, you could have your eyes closed, you would find, you know, everything which is necessary, the razor is in its own place. Now, you don't think about it. Very often, I am not quite sure whether I switched off the gas, in the kitchen or not. I don't forget it. I do it mechanically. It is always in the same. The switch is always in the same place. I do it without thinking. There is no problem of switchness in my mind. I'm using the example of hammer. I never abuse, I never philosophize about the essence of hammerism, because whenever I need to put a nail in the wall, I know where to find my hammer, which is always in the same place. Only when it breaks, and I don't have any other hammer. I start to think about the features, the defining features of hammer. It must be heavy, it must be tough, it must be big or something like that. So it stands to reason that things which are routinely obedient to your habits are invisible. You don't think about it. That's, by the way, which destroys quite a number of good marriages. People are becoming too familiar with each other. They stop surprising each other, so they stop noticing each other because of that. They are too routine, too normal, too predictable to be noted. And therefore some little crisis in a marriage in the end is very helpful, because again it suddenly draws the other person from the oblivion, shows that there is a person with its demands, with its faults, with its uniqueness, and then you try, only then you try to do something about it. Otherwise you just pass by and do not notice what's happening.
Let me choose it because there were many of them, and I would ask you a general advice, but that's the main point of our conversation. I mean, knowing that the presence of death is always here with us. Okay, what should we focus every day when we get up?
Well,
What we should focus every day when we get up? I mean, not to think about this and to overcome this presence. I mean, what's the reason? What's a trick that you could suggest to average people to cheat the idea of that? I mean, and that
well,
brings.
it's being done by culture. I don't need to contribute anything to it. The liquid modern life is so full of surprises, so full of novelties. We are living in a culture of cult, in a cult of novelty, really. You probably exchange it's
iPhone.
iPhone.
Yeah.
Well, you probably bought it a few months ago, and I can bet that in a few months you will throw it away and replace with another, because there will be another with one more gadget, with this one outdated already, doesn't possess. So in this rhythm, it is culture which is doing that we have no time about thinking of death. And you are probably attached to this iPhone at the moment, but it won't stop you from throwing it away to the dustbin when the new one is bought. This is the logic of contemporary life, and I think it's a very clever solution to chasing away the fear of death from daily agenda. There's no, you have so many items in this agenda that there's no room left for it. But the side effect of it, I repeat, because it's very close to my heart, is that we are stopping thinking not only about death, but about eternal life. We are stopping to think about long-term values, the future, and the future generations, and so on. That's the sentiment of it. That's the price which we pay for getting rid of the thought of death.
Okay.
Oh, I would really appreciate if you stop asking.
Okay. 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 Thank you very much.